Pagitt Radio on AM 950. November 13th, 2 weeks away from the big Thanksgiving break. And joined here in the studio by our rabbi, the rebel rabbi, Joseph Edelheit, and we're just chatting on the background of our rabbi around here. Not only does he have a master's degree from the University of Chicago and studied Christian studies.
Yes, I have a doctorate in Christian theology.
What kind of rabbi gets a doctorate in Christian theology? I mean, is that a rebel?
The first one.
The first one.
and maybe the only one.
That's awesome. And in the Twin Cities was the senior rabbi at Temple Israel, and now is a professor at St. Cloud State, and a graduate of Berkeley University back in 64 to 68.
The vintage years.
I'm not even going to tell you that I was born in 1966, but 64 to 68 when they used to let the kids protest. Not anymore over there at Berkeley.
Well, Oakland, that neighbor, we've always had some interesting relationships with those police.
So you got a doctorate in Christianity, right?
Yes.
I mean, to what extent are you going to go to win an argument?
Yeah, well,
that's right.
Yes, that's true.
And so let me ask you, when 64 to 68, did you find yourself on the rough end of a baton or anything? Were you
a couple times?
Were you really?
I was 17 years old during the free speech movement.
Man. That's awesome. Well, now...
Were you Jewish back then?
I was.
Okay.
I've always been Jewish.
Mm-hmm. You weren't a convert?
No.
No. In fact, if you want to keep up with the Rebel Rabbi, there's going to be a new blog that we're going to be talking about that the Rabbi is going to be a part of, and as well as a number of other voices that you hear on this radio program and other places. So keep an ear out for that. But Joseph, we were talking that both of us find ourselves running around with folks who we know are not going to tie into religion through some institutional or official organized path.
Right.
And it seems to be a growing number of people. And I wanted to chat with you a little bit about, from your perspective and from your stream of Judaism, how do you all encourage people to keep up on a healthy spiritual path if they're not going to do it through the organized official synagogue route?
The disaffiliated, the unaffiliated, are the vast majority of Jews in America and Israel.
Yeah.
Okay. When someone comes to me and needs a life cycle event, you know, the buffet from birth through death.
Yeah, right.
I won't officiate and I won't engage them or help them unless they're affiliated with the synagogue.
Oh, really?
Yep. And I've always believed that. You need a community. Otherwise, you're merely renting a plumber for 20 minutes.
Right.
And how does a, quote, rabbi, a clergy person's ability to consecrate a relationship help you memorialize a loved one? How does any of that work on an individual consumer basis?
Right.
So forgetting the life cycle events. Now someone comes...
You mean like birth or marriage or
whatever.
death, that kind of thing.
Okay, so someone comes to me and says, Edelheit, I'm grappling.
Yeah.
And I'm
a spiritual person, but I'm not. I just can't do the out of the box version.
Right. I push the word engagement, and there's an interesting Hebrew term, la'asok, and that verb to engage is actually used when Jews nail the mezuzah to their door.
That's the little thing that holds the scroll.
Yes, holds the scroll that says, "Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one," from Deuteronomy. And you say, la'asok. You nail it
you
up.
tap it in there.
Yeah. We say a blessing when we study Torah, when we study the Bible. La'asok b'divrei Torah. So this word engage, I think, is very, very important. I tell people, make a commitment to 6 minutes a week on Friday night. Don't go to services. Use 6 minutes to bless the candles, initiate the Sabbath, bless the wine or grape juice, bless the bread, the challah, bless your children, bless each other, and have a meal that sets apart the week. if you do 6 minutes, those 3 blessings, you do that 6 months in a row, it becomes a discipline.
Heck, six minutes, I can do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even John could handle a 6-minute religious experience.
So I think engagement, and if you make it an accessible, repeatable event, I have a series of books that I recommend to people, but there's a problem with just pushing people into books.
Yeah, right.
It's solitary and passive.
Yeah, it's somebody else's thing that you're reflecting on. Yeah.
And it's usually derivative. So my fear is that if they want to do something but don't want to be in the crowd, you're going to need to find them a smaller unit. Family, in the Jewish community, we have something called chavurot. A chaver is a friend. And the text tells us, find yourself a friend with whom you should study. Okay? So none of this should ever be done in a solitary or isolated way.
Now, how would someone find, I know in the Christian culture, there's all kinds of self-help, do-it-yourself kinds of pathways.
Right.
Resources that you can find. There's little Bible studies, there's prayer books, there's beads you can follow. There's all kinds of helps. In the Jewish community, does that exist as well? Are there readily accessible helps for people if they wanted to?
Oh, yes, and so much now online, more than ever before. My 19 years in Minnesota has helped me understand what it's like to be a Jew in an isolated community.
Oh.
So think of the Jews who were on the Iron Range. Not a lot of Jews left
all
in the
three
Iron
of them,
Range.
right? Yeah.
I mean, that's where Robert Zimmerman, Bobby Dillon came from, Hibbing.
Yeah.
And I have dear friends who have rehabilitated the synagogue that he grew up in Virginia, Minnesota.
Wow.
So in these small, isolated towns, the internet has created a virtual community.
Interesting. And so someone could tap into that if someone was either whether they come from a Jewish background or not, but if they found issues of Judaism to be intriguing to them, you can tap into that.
Yes.
Now, other rabbis that you'll run into, if someone says, "Hey, Rabbi, I haven't been to synagogue in a while because I'm doing this thing at home," and how do most rabbis take that? How is that understood in the rabbinic world? Will they get a little grief if they say, "I'm doing a 6-minute,
I'm doing
Shabbat quickie at home or something?"
Yeah. Jews are not always only Jews in the synagogue. You can express your Jewish identity. You can observe Judaism at home. The Seder, the Passover meal, is the most universally observed Jewish observance all year. That's done in the home. It's not done in the synagogue.
Oh, interesting. So a Jewish person wouldn't feel the same kind of pressure that some Christian folks would feel to, well, if you do it at home, that's really a cut rate version of doing it. You really ought to do it. You really ought to do it with a bunch of us over.
You need a quorum. You need a minyan, traditionally of 10 men, 10 men and women, we believe, in order to read from Scripture or say the Kaddish, the memorial prayer. Those are the 2 elements that are required at a base level of community. Everything else you can do on your own. You don't need the community. And the rabbi traditionally isn't necessary for anything. He's just another member of the community.
But you go to rabbinic schools, right? Don't you?
Yes, we go to rabbinic school, and we are a professionally trained clergy person.
Yeah, interesting.
And the state recognizes us for the purpose of officiating at weddings.
Which we should collaborate together to bring it into. But anyway.
But in tradition, the rabbi is merely a teacher in the community. And if trained appropriately and revered, becomes a sage, someone to whom people go for legal adjudication and wisdom.
But the Christian church could learn a few.
Well, I was going to ask you that. In the Christian tradition, there was movement that was sort of the unfunded mandate of the Protestant Reformation.
Right.
That you would have the priesthood of all the believers. Everyone
Correct.
got to be the priest. Is that a notion within Judaism that
No.
anyone could be the rabbi?
No. Now, anybody who's literate can lead a service. Traditional Jews don't want a woman to lead a service because of issues of modesty, and a woman might lead someone to become licentious. Hearing a woman's voice can whatever. So they knew about Lady Gaga before Lady Gaga knew about Lady Gaga.
Is she Jewish?
No.
Okay.
Listen, we're stuck already with Madonna on the edge, so it's bad enough. The rabbi is seen as the scholar, the trained exegete who can legally determine things for the community.
Within Jewish law.
Right, but there's no need for the rabbi, except modernity, to do weddings and funerals and all that. But the synagogue per se, no. I'm unnecessary. I'm irrelevant.
What, would most Jewish folks have that sense of their rabbi, or is the function of a rabbi far more exalted in their own life and spiritual?
It is exalted, and then they want to work to make you irrelevant.
That's awesome. Well, that's our rabbi around here. That's Doug Pagitt Radio, Rebel Rabbi Joseph Edelheit, and you'll be able to find him over at the Emergent Village blog here in another month or so after that launches. And Joseph is around here. Thanks a lot for being on the show today. Appreciate your friendship and appreciate your guidance to the rest of us. Now, if you're in South Minneapolis, folks, I reminded you already, throw on those shoes, take a left, take a right, whatever you have to do. Get over to 46th Street and Blaisdell Avenue this afternoon for the Artisan Shop. If you're someone who listens to this radio program, I'm guessing you appreciate top quality handcrafted goods. I'm just guessing that you are someone who would honor that, and you would honor the work of an artisan. And there are bunches of them on the corner of 46th Street and Blaisdell Avenue in South Minneapolis at the Artisan Craft Fair. So we'd like to encourage you to head on over there. And then stick with us here on the program. We're going to come back with the Cripes and the Come On, You Got to Be Kidding Me. And in the second hour, Flunking Sainthood author Jana Reese on her year of breaking the Sabbath, forgetting to pray, and still loving her neighbor, how someone can pursue a year of trying to be a saint, even when that's hard in the city. It's a Bruce Springsteen reference for some of you who don't know that. Stick with us here on Doug Pagitt Radio, religious radio that's not quite right. AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota, and DougPagittRadio.com.